Sometimes we need perspective when the storms are swirling around us. Good morning, my friends. It is I, John, here in the fabulous John of New Studios. I'm 2 days away from going on vacation, so I thought I'd go ahead and make some more videos. And when I came into the studio this morning, I actually hopped onto my comments section and I found this message from Ashley. And I really wanted to help her find some clarity in a very traumatic time for her. So let me just read the message and let me respond to it and hopefully give you, Ashley, some clarity. Here's the message. I just lost my boyfriend in an accident. I actually broke up with him 2 months beforehand and stopped talking to him completely a week prior to his death. The relationship was toxic, and I thought the only thing I could do to help us at this point was distance. Besides us getting caught up in everything, for example, his trauma getting triggered and taking it out on me, and then me running away, we had a perfect relationship. I've never felt a connection with someone as much as him. Even though we're both 21, he was my best friend and everything I ever, but also never, wanted in a partner. He called me names and had a lot of other emotionally abusive tendencies, but he never really understood what he was doing. It was always so interesting because he was so open-minded and talked about spirituality all of the time and just wanted to spread love. We even watched this channel together. But for some reason, he couldn't get it through his hurdles. Anyway, I just wanted to vent and say I'm scared that he was my twin flame, and I'll never have a relationship like that again. I also feel really guilty, like maybe I should have been more patient with him, and he wouldn't have decided to go out and get hurt if we were still talking on talking terms. No matter what, we loved each other so much, and I miss him every day. There's not a day goes by that I don't think about him. I just don't know what to do now. Well, Ashley, you have a lot of very confusing things going on right now. Number one, you're 21. So that is a very confusing time for most people, myself included. When I was 21, I was a very, very confused individual. But I don't want to bring this down to age because you're actually talking in contradictions. Let's start at the very top of the thing. I just lost my boyfriend in an accident. The next sentence you say, I actually broke up with him 2 months ago and stopped talking to him. So the first thing you have to do is realize he wasn't your boyfriend anymore. He was no longer your boyfriend. You broke up with him 2 months earlier and you stopped talking to him. So that itself tells you, first of all, congratulations, because everything else I'm reading in this comment is you were in a very abusive relationship. Though your relationship with him had its moments of joy and loving, he was probably extremely bipolar, and you were probably feeling that passionate experience that he was having in his manic times. But when you look at what you say here, the relationship was toxic and you needed distance. And then you go on to talk about him calling you names and treating you poorly. And you list all these reasons why you left him. But then you say, he was my best friend and everything I ever, but also never wanted in a partner. So the never part of this is the important part. He couldn't have been your quote unquote twin flame, which I don't believe in twin flames, but he couldn't have been your twin flame if there was so much stuff that you never wanted in a partner. The truly unconditional relationships resonate, right? And not what you're talking about with his abuse and his calling you names and controlling you, it was really his fear, his anxiety, his own stresses. And he was, you weren't in resonance. He was afraid, and he was controlling you through abuse. That's what abuse is. It's exerting power over another. Now, what happens when we get down here further is you say he was so open-minded and talked spirituality all of the time, and he just wanted to spread love, right? He can talk spirituality all he wants. Shakespeare said, words without thoughts never to heaven go. That means that you have to believe what you're saying. And many people can talk a really good game about spirituality, but are they living it? It's one of the things I talk about all the time. It doesn't matter who you were. It only matters who you are. It matters what you're doing and what you're living and walking the path. It's actually the reason why I left spiritual speaking in the early 2000s and just recently came back to it. It was because no one was walking their talk. No one was actually taking what I was teaching and putting it into action. He obviously was not, or he would never have treated you that way. So he was not living a loving life. He was not showing you his partner love. He was showing you control and abuse, and all of that was coming out of his own fear. So this person who was your boyfriend at one time, you very powerfully left him. And I congratulate you for that, because that's you loving yourself enough to know you need to get out. Being in that kind of relationship does not mean you don't love them. But being in that kind of relationship is loving only them and not yourself. And your leaving was the first step of really empowering yourself to love yourself and step up into your own power. What happened next was he died. And then you started to feel guilty, thinking that you're the cause of his death. You're not the cause of his death. And the reason you're not the cause of his death is because the only person responsible for their life is themselves. He made choices, and those things happened. You have no responsibility for what he did or what he does. And understand this. When you cross over, you see all the harm you've caused. You see all the damage you've caused. You see all the love you've caused. And you feel it from both sides. It's still all very fresh. I mean, because it's only been, a few weeks or a month. So, you're in your time of grieving, but you have to realize you left him for a reason. You stopped talking to him for a reason. And the reason was he was abusing you. His death was his own choice. His death was his own experience. And you did not cause it, and you are not responsible for it. And understand that you can love someone who is very flawed, but you left them. And you leaving him is something you should really be proud of, because that was you saying, you're not abusing me anymore. And now, because of his death, you're kind of letting him abuse you in his death, by saying, I should have done this for him, I should have done that for him. The only person who should have done anything for him was him. That part of your life is over. You're 21. Go out into the world, and the last thing you say here, I don't know if you'll find another person like him. You miss him every day. And that's that's okay. The question is do you want to miss him every day, or do you want to remember him for the good things of his life, release the bad things in his life, and then move on and say, I learned that I'm not going to put myself into another abusive relationship. I know this sounds very harsh in the way I'm saying this, but it's very true. He could not have been a quote-unquote twin flame or a soulmate or any of those things if he was abusing you. could not have happened because even the concept of those beliefs, which I don't believe in, even the concept of those is about resonance, coming together with someone who you are connected to and resonate with. But he obviously wasn't resonating with you, or he wouldn't have been emotionally abusing you. And so you'll get through this time, and you'll get through it faster when you realize that he was no longer your boyfriend. You broke up with him. So at the time of his death, he was not your boyfriend. And his death was his choice. He made choices that put him in those situations. And so give yourself a break, right? Exhale. Let go of the fear of guilt and fault, and let go of the idea that he was the perfect mate and you're not going to find somebody else like him, because that's not true. There are billions of people in the world. There are multiple people who you'll resonate with. Probably millions of people you can resonate with. But it's a matter of you dropping the anchor to him and believing that he's the only one. Because if you believe he's the only one, and he's the quote-unquote love of your life, you're declaring into this world that there's nobody better. And your choice is then to not find anybody better. And after reading your comment here, I would have to say, there are people who are better. There are people who will treat you with love and kindness, who will not call you names and abuse you in very unloving ways. There are people who will see you for you, love you for you, and enhance your life, as opposed to make you afraid of what's going to happen next and walking on eggshells. So Ashley, I know that you're going to come through this just fine because of the fact that you did break up with him. That means that you have that power within you to do that. So which means you're going to come out of this just fine. It's all still very fresh. But in the next moment, in the next few months, you're going to come out of it and you're going to realize what you learned. And you learned a lot. You learned that you don't want to be abused. You've learned that it's not acceptable to let someone run over you and call you names like that, because you are worth more than that. And don't think that you won't find somebody else, because you will. You'll find somebody else, and you'll find as many people as you want, because they're all out there and the possibilities are there. So exhale, give yourself a break, and just choose to move forward as opposed to constantly looking back. You have a better day, and I'll talk to you soon. See ya. Bye.